What's up, my Central Units? It's Central Man here. So this is my review of TNA's Battle for Glory 2011. Last weekend marks the 10-year anniversary of this pay-per-view. This show was at the Liar Course Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is in ECW territory. It's also in Ring of Honor territory because those companies were in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. On the 16th of October 2011, the attendance for the show was 3,585. I don't talk about taglines in pay-per-views. For the tagline for this show is "With the People," and the buy rate for the show it's between 20 to 25,000 pay-per-view buys. Mike Tenay and Taz on commentary. The two biggest matches going into that year's Bound for Glory are Sting versus Hulk Hogan for the control of TNA, and the TNA World Title match between Kurt Angle and Bobby Roode. We'll get to those matches later on in this review. So the first match to kick off the show, this is for the X Division Championship. We've got Austin Aries, the X Division Champion, putting the belt on the line against Brian Kendrick. Aries defeat Kendrick for the X Division title at the previous month's pay-per-view, There Is No Surrender. And the fans really got behind Austin Aries, because like I said, this show was in Ring of Honor territory. It's in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He's kind of like a star in Ring of Honor. I know what Ring of Honor is, but I don't really follow the history. I done my research on whether it's a CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, or Samoa Joe, Kevin Steen, that's Kevin Owens. He did well in Ring of Honor. You know, he's a two-time ROH World Champion, a one-time ROH World Tag Team Champion with Roderick Strong. Is right now part of the Diamond Mine in NXT in WWE. So, you can tell like he's not really a founding father of ROH. I don't want to get into it. That's another story for another time. But they were booing Brian Kendrick. I don't know. He's not got like a heavy boost. He got slightly booed. I don't know. He had spells with Ring of Honor before going to WWE. I know Brian Kendrick is. You know, he wrestled in WWE twice. You know, in the Ruthless Aggression era, and recently in 2016, part of the Cruiserweight division. You know, 205 Live. But he was in Ring of Honor. In 2002, the early years of Ring of Honor. He left the company in 2004. I'm talking about WWE. He also wrestled in TNA in 2004. Only for a cup of coffee, and then he went to ROH for 1 year, and then came back to the WWE. So he bounced around three companies in the 2000s. ROH, TNA, WWE. He's just bounced around the big three companies at the time. But it must be his gimmick. You know, at the time, in Brian Kendrick's run in TNA in 2010 until 2012, he was doing the hippie gimmick. It's way better than his gimmick from recently, you know, in 2016 when he was part of the Cruiserweight division in 205 Live. You know, I don't want to get into it, but for me, I think it was what it is. People like it, but people hate it. It's a bit of a mixed bag. Anyway, so the match was good. A really fun match to kick off the pay-per-view between Aries and Kendrick. Fast-paced, a lot of mat-style wrestling. Little bulks of the match, but focus on more of the fast-paced style. That's the reason. That's the whole point. The reason why the X Division it kind of worked because it's all about fast-paced wrestling. It's basically a predecessor to the Cruiserweight division in WCW. Anyway, so it was a very fast-paced match. Aries hit Kendrick with a suicide dive. He nearly knocked Kendrick over the barricade into the crowd. But that was good. That was the best suicide dive I've ever seen. But it was really, like I said, it was a start. I really enjoy it. There was a lot of near falls. You had Kendrick hit Aries with the sliced bread, but Aries' foot was on the ropes. He's trying to do it again minutes later. This time on the ring apron, but Aries countered it, throwing Kendrick out of the ring. Put him back in the ring, hit the brainbuster for the win. Makes sense because he just won the title at No Surrender. Makes no sense to hold the belt at won the title at one pay-per-view, end up dropping it at the next pay-per-view. It just makes no sense. But sadly, this was Brian Kendrick's last pay-per-view appearance of TNA. I think he had 1 or 2 matches going into the later parts, really going to the end of 2011 and maybe early parts of 2012 before leaving the company in February of 2012 the following year. Bouncing around the Indies, going back to the WWE, become Cruiserweight Champion, part of 205 Live, and then I think recently, or right now in our current timeline, I'm guessing he's now a backstage producer for the WWE. I'm guessing he's retired right now. He's in his 40s right now, but I think he's one of the most forgettable X Division champion in TNA history. Or right now TNA's it's Impact Wrestling. I'm trying to say, but yeah, it was a great. It was a good match to kick off the pay-per-view. I think Aries is still the longest reigning X Division champion in TNA / Impact Wrestling history. His record still stands to this day, I think. Anyway, so the next match, this is a Full Metal Mayhem match. It's basically their version of TLC. Rob Van Dam, aka RVD, taking on Jerry Lynn. This is their reunited rivalry, what they did in the original ECW. I heard about the matches. I think they fought for the ECW television title from 1999, because RVD had like the longest reigning ECW television title reign. But yeah, like I said, never seen the matches. I might review their matches in the future. I'm taking a bit of a break of reviewing ECW shows for this month, maybe next month. Anyway, so. And also the announcer said that Lynn cost RVD the Battle for Glory series. So, but the match was really good. Not that I don't say it's their best match of their rivalry. Like I said, never seen the RVD Jerry Lynn matches. I heard the RVD Jerry Lynn matches really put Jerry Lynn's career on the map. He didn't do well in WWE. Yeah, he was a light heavyweight champion, but for Jerry Lynn, at the time, you got two guys in their 40s, putting on a good show. The still past in RVD and Jerry Lynn were kind of past their best. Lynn is 58 right now, Jerry Lynn, but back then he was 48. He was still in his, he was kind of past his best at this moment in time. But and also Jerry Lynn is also an X Division champion. RVD is a future X Division champion as well. He went on to win the X Division title in 2013. Anyway, so and also Jerry Lynn is also an ECW World Champion. He's it has to do with his personality. That's the reason why he's never got a big break in WWE. TNA, maybe he had some success in TNA. He was X Division champion. 2-time X Division champion. Tag team champion. He won the X World Cup, and that was in the early years of TNA in the Asylum in Nashville. Anyway, let's get back to this match. I'm kind of rambling, but the match was good. It was on one botch in this match. I don't want to get into it, but they kind of recover. Jerry Lynn kind of hit RVD with, I think it was a sunflip powerbomb onto the ladder, and the ladder, RVD didn't really got one fully contact with the ladder. I think he slightly hit his head on the ladder. That was, I would say, painful, but anyway, moving on, try to keep it short and simple, folks. The weapon spots were good. Not the best Full Metal Mayhem match. There's been better ones over the years, but this was a bit weaker. But anyway, so in the end, RVD got the victory. Hit the Fan Dominator. It's basically aka the Coast to Coast onto Jerry Lynn for the victory. And afterwards, RVD and Jerry Lynn kind of show their respects. And I think this is Jerry Lynn's one and only pay-per-view appearance, or one and only pay-per-view match. I'm talking about his return to TNA. I think he had pay-per-view matches before, like in the early years of TNA, like in the mid-2000s, but I'm not saying this is, he debuted in 2010. Like I said, he was an X Division title in the early years of TNA, but, you never seen Jerry Lynn afterwards. He probably, I think right now I think he worked backstage in AEW, but you never seen Jerry Lynn ever again. I think he left the company. maybe work behind the scenes before leaving the company, because TNA was kind of like going down the cliff. So moving on to the next match. So yeah, like I said, it's just a revived rivalry what they did in ECW. RVD. Basically won the final match of their rivalry. It wasn't a rivalry. It was just a one match. Because it's in Philadelphia. Anyway, so the next match, this is a freeway match. We got Samoa Joe taking on, at the time, the undefeated Crimson and the Blueprint Matt Morgan. So there's some build going into Bound for Glory for this match. So basically, like I said, Crimson was undefeated. He feuded with Joe throughout the years that were competing for the Bound for Glory series. I'll talk about more later on in this review. So the competing matches for the BFG series. I think Joe was obsessed of breaking Crimson's streak, but instead he ended up breaking his leg. Injured his ankle. Matt Morgan suffered a pectoral injury. Both Crimson and Matt Morgan basically redraw for that year's Bound for Glory series due to injury. Then Matt Morgan feuded with Joe a little bit, and then Joe worked on the leg of Matt Morgan. I think Joe was turning heel at the time. It was giving Joe something to do because he's not really doing anything at the time. Joe was better off as a heel than a babyface. That's me. That's for me. Anyway, so this is a triple threat match. I don't know. I was having a mixed bag for this triple threat match. Wish they just did Crimson Joe, or a handicap match. It could accomplish anything, but it's just what it is. But to be honest, this was a fun match to watch. The little bulks of the match, you had Matt Morgan and Crimson ganging up on Joe. The fans were cheering for Joe. I think they booed Crimson and Matt Morgan because I think the reason why they're cheering for Joe because Joe is one of the founding fathers of Ring of Honor, because he was a former ROH World Champion. Wrestlers like CM Punk and Bryan Danielson in the mid-2000s before going to TNA, and also become a founding father of that company as well. So they were booing both Morgan and Crimson. So yeah, I've done my research on Crimson, but he was in OVW. He never wrestled a Ring of Honor or a WWE. But he wrestled in OV. OVW, trying to say. But anyway, so the match was fun. Crimson took some bumps into this match. Joe hit the suicide dive onto Crimson outside the ring. Matt Morgan, he's 7 feet tall, did a crossbody onto Crimson off the top rope. That was good. Crimson and Matt Morgan fight a bit, and then in the end, Crimson hit Samoa Joe because Morgan was going for the carpet footprint onto Joe, but Joe got out of the way. Crimson hit the spear onto Samoa Joe for the win. It's a damn shame for Crimson. They're trying to put they kind of make it as a big deal, Crimson's undefeated streak. They're trying to put the eggs in the Crimson basket, and unfortunately, it didn't really pan out that well, so it's a shame. So moving on to the next match. The next match, this is a Philly street fight. A false count anywhere Philly street fight. We got Bully Ray taking on Mr. Anderson. Bully Ray was basically he kind of shit on the fans of Philly because Philly really put Bully Ray's career on the map because he was, formerly known as Bobby Ray Dudley, part of the Dudley Boys in ECW, then WWE, now in TNA at the time. But he said screw him and screw the fans of Philly. It was a really fun match. You had Bully Ray mocking Mr. Anderson's mic drop, saying from Hell's Kitchen, New York. They booed New York because this is in Philly. And also, Mr. Anderson grabbed the mic, says, he said, "We're in Philly, bitch." And also Anderson grabs a sign, says, "This is Philly, asshole." He didn't crapping on Mr. Anderson. That was his nickname. He was known as the asshole, He didn't crapping on him. It's just what it is. It really got him over in his early months of his career in TNA for Mr. Anderson. So anyway, it was a bit physical. Basically you had there was a steel barricade in the ring. Mr. Anderson was going for I think it was a swanton bomb onto Bully Ray, but Bully Ray got out of the way. And I think Bully Ray almost do the same move, but instead he also tasted the steel barricade. He hit Mr. Anderson with a bubble bomb. The match was starting really getting good. There was one fucking botch, notable botch. Mr. Anderson was trying to put Bully Ray through a table outside the ring, trying to go for the Swanton Bomb. He completely missed it. It's not really it really brought this match down for me, the botch, but instead he kind of recovered it, hit a different finisher. I think that was supposed to be the finisher. Mr. Anderson putting Bully Ray through a table with a Swanton Bomb, but instead, yeah, he kind of like botched it. So Mr. Anderson hit the mic. I think he hit the second mic check onto Bully Ray, this time on the table outside the ring. I think the first time Bully Ray kicked out for the win. And also the backstory is Mr. Anderson was in Immortal, but instead Immortal kicked him out of the group for I don't know what the reason. So that was the end of it was the end of the rivalry. So moving on to the next match. The first 4 matches of the show was really strong, but the show took a downhill afterwards. So the next match, this is a 4-way match for the TNA Knockouts title. We got Winter, the Knockouts champion at the time, with Angelina Love in his corner, defending the belt against 2 former Knockouts champions, that is Mickie James and Madison Rayne. Not Velvet Sky. I'll get spoiler alert. We'll get to the spoiler later on in this. When I get to the end of this match. So, because Velvet Sky at the time was not the Knockouts champion. Like I said, Winter defending the belt against Mickie James, Madison Rayne, 2 former Knockouts champion, and Velvet Sky, a future Knockouts champion, with Karen Jarrett as the special guest referee. This match, boy, this is not a 4-way match. This is in a tag team format. This is the worst match of the show. It was boring. I was getting sick of Karen Jarrett's shtick, because at the time he was basically had this power struggle between her and Velvet Sky. Basically had Karen's basically degrading the knockouts, calling them sluts and prostitutes and whores, basically burying the knockouts, and also Winter, during that summer, become a 2-time knockouts champion, feud with Mickie James at Hardcore Justice and No Surrender. Anyway, so I'm guessing like Madison Rayne was added to the last minute because they did like qualified matches going into their match at Bound for Glory. It don't need to be a 4-way match. Why can't it just be like a 3-way? Don't get it. But anyway, it's just like it was getting a little boring. I'm getting shtick of Karen's shtick was annoying. Every time, typical heel referee stuff. Not doing the free counts. Not seeing the cheating. It's just what it is. Anyway, so I'm trying to keep it short, simple. In the end, you had Winter kind of accidentally spit, I think it was mist or type of substance, into the face of Karen Jarrett. Then you got Tracy Brooks. Basically, come down the ring. I think there was a segment earlier that Tracy Brooks is allowed to go into the ring if Karen Jarrett was in harm's way. So basically, filling in for Karen Jarrett as a special guest referee. I think Velvet hit like her finisher onto, I think it was Winter, to win this match and become the the Knockouts champion for the first time. At this moment in time, the Knockouts title was hot potatoing because you had so many champions going into the second half of 2011. Winter won it twice, Mickie James won it twice, and then Velvet Sky won it once. But her reign, it didn't mean anything because the next month at Turning Point, Velvet dropped the belt to Gail Kim. I wish Gail Kim debuted on the show. It's just what it is. But she'll win the title again until 2013. As for Winter, she never wins the Knockouts title ever again. She left the company in the spring of 2012. He came back in 2017, 2018, but she didn't do much in her second run in TNA. And then I think she's now focused on acting. I'm talking about Katarina Waters, Winter. So yeah, it was just a boring match. I wish they just did a 3-way, but if it was a tag team match, it'd be okay. But this is a 4-way match for your prestigious women's title. in your company, you know, and had Karen Jarrett for weeks and months, you know, degrading the knockouts division. Do you think people are turning in to watch that? Probably not. So moving on to the next match. The next match is way better than the last match I talked about, but that's not saying too much. So the next match we'll got AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels in an I Quit match. So I like the video package going into their match on this show, you know, showing their history, what they did in the early years of TNA, in the Asylum years, to the, you know, the early years when TNA went on Spike TV. You know, they were competing for the X Division title, yeah, they fought for the world title, you know, Final Resolution 2009, they were tag team champions, you know, I really liked that. Daniels returned to TNA in the spring of 2011 to feud with Immortal to compete in that Lethal Lockdown match at Lockdown in April of that year. And the first match of the renewed rivalry between AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels was at Destination X in July. Styles won the first match, and then Daniels kind of bragged for a rematch, so they had the rematch. Daniels got the win back, so he kind of refused to shake AJ Styles' hand. So Daniels basically bragged about his win. That pissed off AJ. They ended up brawling. You could tell Daniels was leaning heelish. He turned heel when he kicked Styles in the balls, and then they announced that they're going to do an I Quit match. So let's talk about it. This match doesn't really need to be an I Quit match. I wish they did something else, like a First Blood match or a Last Man Standing match. I don't get it, but this is like a watered down version of an I Quit match. This is something like WWE will do, you know, like their version of the I Quit match. So it's so watered down. No risk, no memorable spots. It's just basically Daniels and Styles fight in the ring. No weapons. They use, like, I think there was a screwdriver and a chair. That's it. You know, if you compare this match to AJ Styles versus Tommy Dreamer in that I Quit match at No Surrender 2010, the previous year, I think I'll take the Styles Dreamer match than the Styles Daniels match at Bound for Glory 2011. It's not their best match, you know. They had better matches before or even after their match of Bound for Glory going into 2012. So it's just boring, you know, doing a lot of submission holds, normal submission holds. I don't really get it. Yeah, Daniels basically put the chair around AJ's neck, sitting on him, and he grabs his mic. He basically said, he kind of name dropped Wendy. Wendy is AJ's wife. He said about, take the kids away, you don't want to see their daddy murdered in cold blood. He said about these things TNA give that should be mine. Basically, you know, because Daniels shouldn't be. It's a shame that Daniels never become TNA World Champion. I think he recently came back to the company. He might, but I think he should really, you know, be TNA World Champion in his prime. Has to do with timing anyway. So in the end, you know, Styles, you know, AJ grabbed the screwdriver and he's trying to stab Daniels with it, and Daniels said just like, I quit. And afterwards, you know, he had basically had he hit the best moonsault ever onto Styles. This was in the moments of the match, you know, and then afterwards he hit AJ, you know, attacked him by, you know, cheap shot out in the stage, hit him with the angel wings. It's basically a double hook face buster. It's similar to Triple H's pedigree, but I think it was a double hook face buster. Yeah, to get his heat back because he lost. It's just what it is. So I'm stumbling. I'm trying to say, you know, Styles cheat shot AJ in the stage. I'm trying to say, but the rivalry still continued going into 2012. I like the Last Man Standing match. I think it was at Destination X the following year, or Last Man Standing match. You know, they ended up feuding throughout the whole of 2012. Kazarian ended up joining Daniel's side to form Bad Influence, aka they become the Addiction in Ring of Honor. Right now, the SCU. I think SCU right now broken up because Daniels went to Impact Wrestling. I don't think he haven't wrestled. Daniels and Kazarian haven't wrestled in AEW for months now. It's quite that. I don't want to get into it, but there are better matches before or after this match. You know, I suggest just skip this match. But it's not their best. Been better I Quit matches over the years, but this, like I said, it's just something like this is like they just copy what WWE's doing. A watered down PG I Quit match with no blood, no risk, no hardcore moments. It's just basically AJ Styles tone down their style, and just fight inside the ring. This is what it is. So the next match, this is one of the two biggest matches going into this year's or that year's Bound for Glory. We got Sting versus Hulk Hogan for the control of TNA. So it started in 2009 when Hogan signed for TNA. He debuted at the 4th of January 2010's episode of Impact, and then at the previous year's Bound for Glory, Hogan turned heel, former Immortal. Sting was basically, he did turn heel. That was stupid because Sting turning heel never worked because Hogan was up to no good. He ended up teaming up with Kevin Nash, Wolfpack 2.0 because they didn't have the rights, because WWE had the rights of the NWO. Sorry. So, and because Sting came back in March of 2011, become the TNA World Champion not once but twice, feuding with Jeff Hardy, Mr. Anderson. He dropped the titles of Kurt Angle, so he wants to, basically end the reign of Hulk Hogan in TNA. So, and Hogan says if he wins, he will basically give the control of TNA back to Dixie Carr, because in kayfabe, him and Bischoff won the court case. Took really 100% control of TNA from Dixie Carr in kayfabe. Because everyone knows Dixie at the time was. She kind of like the owner of TNA alongside Jeff Jarrett. And speaking of Jeff Jarrett, he had this segment between him and Jeff Hardy. This is Jeff Hardy's first pay-per-view appearance back in the company since that fiasco at Fritchie Road in the match between him and Sting in the main event. So they had the brawl. That set up their match at Turning Point and Final Resolution. Why you had the segment on the show? Because segments in pay-per-views just do not work. And then I found out on Wikipedia that they had the pre-show earlier before the actual show started. You had the TNA Tag Team title match. You had Mex America, that's Anakia and Hernandez, defeated in Inc., that is Jesse Neal and Shannon Moore for the titles. And retained the titles, actually. I don't like Mex America, they're fucking it's just a knockoff version of. I think they had a rematch at Turning Point. Don't know. Go and watch my review of Turning Point 2011 to find out. But so moving on to this match between Sting and Hogan. This was Hogan's first match for 15 years. Because not 15 years, but 5 years actually, because his last match he fought was against Randy Orton at SummerSlam of 2006. So and Sting, and also he became the Joker. I kind of like the Joker gimmick for Sting. He's been the Crow. He still is the Crow, but he was changing up his character a bit. He's been the Crow for almost 15 years, since the days of WCW. Because it's kind of like like people compare him to Heath Ledger. He has that Heath Ledger presence because it's been 3 years at the time since the death of Heath Ledger, the actor who plays the Joker in that Batman movie from 2008. So I heard people don't like the Joker Sting gimmick, but for me, I kind of like it. It's funny, I think Sting made that character work. Hope Sting bring that character one day in AEW. Never say never. Anyway, so the match was, wow. I placed it down the middle between the Knockouts title match, Styles versus Daniels in the I Quit match, and this match. I place it down the middle. I don't say it's the worst match of the show. I think the women's title match takes the cake, but it's just like an okay match. It was there for the glamour. And by the way, you had a segment between Bischoff and Jackson James, aka Garrett Bischoff. They say son and dad and the announcers shot their father and son. What the fuck? Everyone knows Eric Bischoff and Garrett Bischoff are father and son. What the fuck? I don't know. It's fucking Vince Russo at the time. I think he left in 2012. Yeah, he came back in 2014. Don't want to get into it. Anyway, so the match was just okay. He had some blood. Flair got involved. No Immoral guys got involved. They got involved after the match, but the only Immoral member got involved was Ric Flair. Ric Flair got involved. Yeah, at the time they were building around Hogan, Sting, and Flair. Hogan at the time was 58. 58. You know, right? If you check his age right now, he is 68. So he was in his late 50s at the time. Sting 62 right now, 52 back in 2011. You got two guys in their 50s had no business to be in the ring. You know, Sting. Yeah, I think Sting improved right now, but it's just like 10 minutes. It was a bit. It wasn't boring. It was okay for what it is. You know, he had Hogan, Hulk up. He had some blood because he had a foreign object. I don't know what it is. It's just a foreign. I don't know what it is. It must be a knife or not a knife, but like some screwdriver or whatever. So, you know, Sting and Hogan bled buckets. In the end, Sting locking the Scorpion Deathlock. Yeah, I said it right. Scorpion Deathlock onto Hogan and Jackson James, Garrett Bischoff. I'm going to call him Garrett Bischoff, you know, rings the bell. Hogan tapped out. And, yep, Sting won the control of TNA back to Dixie Carter. And also, they didn't bring it up. I found out on Wikipedia that if Sting loses this match, he would lead TNA forever. So, they never bring that up. That's weird. So afterwards, you got the Immortal members, you know, Bully Ray, Scott Steiner, Gunner, Eric Bischoff, basically beating down both Jackson James, you know, Garrett Bischoff. He ended up feuding with his dad going into the early parts of 2012. Beat down Sting, hit him with chairs, and then Hogan basically turned babyface because to end Immortal beating down both Bischoffs. You know, they got the heat back, chased off the bad guys. And not really end. This is not the. I got it's not the main event of the show, thank God. But basically, chase off the Immortal members, and that was it. And this was officially the end of Immortal, because funny that the previous year's Bound for Glory, Immortal it formed when Hulk Hogan and Jeff Jarrett and Garrett Bischoff revealed their and then that set up, you know, the feud between him and Immortal and Fortune going into the first half of 2011 going into the spring. Yeah, they got it broke up in the summer because they focused on the BFG series. So Fortune ended up both Fortune and Moral. Funny that they never had an official breakup of their groups. They kind of faded away doing their own thing. It's just what it is. So yeah, Hogan turned babyface the first time since 2010. Saved Sting after the beatdown of Immortal. Beat down Flair, beat down Steiner, Bully Ray. Why did they not get involved? You know, I thought it was gonna be basically you know, it got interference of Ric Flair, but no, it's just why did they not interfere during this match? Beats me. It's just what it is, man. Two guys shouldn't have been in the ring, and this was Hogan's final match as a pro wrestler. He never wrestled ever again. So it's just what it is, and he ended up I thought it was his last match, but he came back, you know, in the spring of 2012, become the 40 figure again in TNA, until October of 2013, and he left. So moving on to the main event, we got Kurt Angle defended the TNA World Heavyweight Championship against Bobby Roode. Angle won the world title from Joker Sting, I'm guessing at Hardcore Justice in August of that year. And then suddenly turned heel in the process to join Immortal. That's dumb to have Angle turn heel, joining Immortal, the same Immortal who in late 2010, early 2011 beat down Angle because at the time he was feuding with Jeff Jarrett, who's also part of Immortal. That was dumb. But on the flip side, let's talk about Bobby Roode. He became the first winner of the Bound for Glory series. Let's talk about the Bound for Glory series. I think at the time was a new concept at the time for TNA. I think it's expiring New Japan because New Japan, I know it's completely different because they did the G1 Climax, because the G1 Climax, I'm guessing it's like a group stage knockout tournament. The BFG is like a league tournament, so the whole AEW do. I know they did that in our current timeline doing the world title eliminator tournament. So I hope they do that. Like if they do like All Out, because All Out's AEW's biggest show of the year, doing like their version of the BFG series. Hope they do it one day, but they did free. I think it was first of free. They did it, you know, for TNA at the time between 2011 to 2013, because Jeff Hardy won the second one the following year in 2012, and then AJ was the last winner of the Bound for Glory series in 2013, and then afterwards they scrapped the BFG series. Hope they bring it back in the future. It has to do with lack of talent. They don't have really good talent to pull off, pull off another good BFG series. It could be the reason, but hope they bring it back in the future. So yeah, I like the video package in the opener of the show and the before the main event. You know, Bobby Roode training, training and also becoming a family man to his kids and husband to his wife. And also they did like this one video package you probably find on YouTube right now. They did like a short documentary of Bobby Roode preparing for his match with Kurt Angle on the show. Yeah, like interviewing Bobby Roode's his parents and her sister. This is before Bobby Roode was the it factor of professional wrestling. He was part of one half of Beer Money Incorporated, one of the best, and still is one of the popular tag teams, not just in TNA's history, but in pro wrestling history. Beer Money Incorporated. So the video montage has that Rocky presence because the show is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, home of Rocky Balboa, Sylvester Stallone's character. It's really tested. I think it's testing the waters for Bobby Roode, single swim. Is he going to make it as a main eventer? So it has that underdog presence. So yeah, and this was the last time Bobby Roode entered a match with the Beer Money theme music until 2016 for a short reunion. The match was good. Not a classic. There been better Bound for Glory main event matches before, even after this match, but this was a fun, decent match to watch. The fans were not really get behind Angle because this. I know it's in Philly, but it's in the state of Pennsylvania because Angle, Kurt is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's the home state boy. I thought he'd probably get some pop. He got booed. I don't know. I think he got a silent reaction. Bobby Roode didn't got that fantastic reaction, but it's just what it is. I'm not crapping on fans. It's just what it is. It's just who they like. But anyway, so yeah, the match was decent. Every time Roode locking the crossface, Angle counted because every wrestler's been doing it since it's been 4 years since the death of Chris Benoit. The double murder suicide at that time. And afterwards, every wrestler from different companies are doing the crossface. I think Sasha Banks did her different version of the crossface, including Daniel Bryan, great example. Also, he did the label lock. It's just what's the point erasing Benoit? You're not, because every wrestler from different companies, are doing the crossface. I don't want to get into it. So it was every time, Roode locking the crossface, Angle counted into the ankle lock, he counted into a pinfall, and he counted into I think it was counted into the Angle slam, kicked out, a lot of near falls. I think Roode hit the suplex off the top rope. It was a bit physical, good. You could tell there's some good chemistry between him and Angle. I'm trying to keep it short and simple. In the end, Angle hit another Angle slam onto Roode. Roode's hand was underneath the ropes, and Angle retained the TNA World title. I think it was a disappointment because Roode was the only winner of the BFG series and never to win the world title because like I said, Jeff Hardy won the BFG world title, the BFG series, in 2012, defeat Austin Aries at the following year's Bound for Glory to become the TNA World Champion, and then AJ Styles did the same thing, wins the BFG series and went on to win the world title in that year's Bound for Glory. But Roode is the only wrestler. So I'm almost about to burp, but anyway, Roode is the only winner to win the series but not become world champion. It's a bit disappointing, but let's go to the aftermath. So the following week of Impact Wrestling, James Storm, Bob Roode's tag team partner at the time, challenged Kurt Angle for the TNA World title and won. And then a week later, or 2 weeks later, Roode won the world title from James Storm, smashed the beer bottle in the head of James Storm, turned heel in the process, become the it factor of professional wrestling. Was it the General of the Selfish Generation? That's his other nickname. And yeah, become the TNA World Champion. I think his record still stands to this day because TNA is right now it's Impact Wrestling. So It's a shame they never did a triple threat match, because the next two pay-per-views, Turning Point and Final Resolution, it's between Bobby Roode and AJ Styles. So I wish they did it at Turning Point, a triple threat match for the world title. Angle, Roode, Storm. You could probably do, AJ. You can probably have Roode win the rematch, or probably Jane Storm win the world title on that pay-per-view, and then you could probably do Roode and Storm at Final Resolution to close out the year. Unfortunately, that's not the case because Angle and Storm did not compete at Turning Point. Go and check out my review. They never compete in that match. I think they feuded in the early parts of 2012. Is what it is, but I think they should have let the fans go happier to see they pull the trigger on the Bobby Roode World title win on a pay-per-view. Instead of doing this on a normal weekly wrestling show, because I think it's just doing it for ratings ploy. Every wrestling, AEW do it once or twice, WWE do it a lot. It's just like, it kind of worn down the concepts of pay-per-views. Doing pay-per-view matches on free TV. What's the point? Just save it out of pay-per-view. It's just what it is. So, but anyway, so Roode, like I said, won the world title. Become enjoy his world title reign in 2012. His record still stands. But James Storm never win the world title ever again in his career. Yeah, he's back in TNA right now, or Impact Wrestling right now. He might win a second one. Hammer one will run to win a second world title for the first time in a decade. But that's, never say never. But it's just what it is. So, and also the TNA and the Knockouts title hot potato in that year. Because I think the world title changed 9 times. Because Jeff Hardy won it twice. He entered the year as the world champion. He won it again. He won it, you can call it twice, but Mr. Anderson won it twice, so that makes it 4. Sting won it twice, that makes it 6. Angle won it once, that makes it 7. Jane Storm 8, and Bobby Roode become the 9th, champion, the 9th guy to win the world title in that year to close out 2011. So the hot potato of the belt. WWE did the same thing. Cena won it 3 times. Miz entered that year as the WWE champion, so it's about 4 times. Punk won it twice. That's 6 times, I think. Del Rio 8 times. So they did the same thing. It gets annoying. The Divas title changed 4 times. They didn't hot potato that belt that much between Eve was the champion, then Brie Bella, then it's Kelly, and then Beth Phoenix. So, sometimes doing hot potato the belts, it kind of waters down, loses its prestige of the title. So let's move on to the ratings. So, I rate TNA Bound for Glory 2011. Yeah, I call it my final rating of TNA Bound for Glory. So I rate this show, I'll give it about 7 out of 10. It's back and forth between 6 and 7. I think, I'm going to change. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's a fair result. 7.5. It's like, I was going to give it a solid 7, but you decide. But it's more 7 out of 10. But the first half of the show, was good. Like the X Division title match between Aries versus Brian Kendrick. The Full Metal Mayhem match between RVD versus Jerry Lynn, the triple threat match between Joe, Crimson, Morgan, the Philly street fight between Mr. Anderson and Bully Ray. And the second, I'll get to the second half on the show a little bit shortly. And I also put the main event match in the TNA World Title match between Kurt Angle versus Bobby Roode. But the second half fall down the cliff a bit. I don't really call it a 4-way match for the Knockouts title. That was really the worst match of the show. AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels in the I Quit match. It doesn't need to be an I Quit match in the first place. That was disappointing. And Hogan Sting was just there. It was there for the spectacular. It's for the glamour. But that was not a good match as well. And also the segment between Jeff Hardy and Jeff Jarrett brawling. Save it towards a weekly wrestling show. Don't put it on a pay-per-view. So, like I said, doing segments on pay-per-views just do not work. So, I give it 7 out of 10, for what it is. So I hope you enjoyed my review of TNA's Bound for Glory 2011. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Smash the like button. Click the bell. Subscribe to the channel, be part of the Central Unit for more wrestling videos and more. And this is the Central Man officially signing out. Check you later.